Hello and welcome back to my series in Factorio, in which I'm attempting to build my very first MegaFactory, which is still a ways off, I admit. Anyway, my name is Azrael. Come along with me as we continue our adventure. Now, just as I had finished the defensive perimeter basic design in the previous episode, about a day later, I thought to myself, maybe I could make this a little bit better. But first, I'm going to go back into the main factory, and I'm picking up a few more things that I need, including a whole bunch of efficiency modules, because these power problems have really begun to pose an issue with everything that I've been doing. But we'll take care of that a little bit later. Uh, for the first thing, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and put a bunch of these things down. Let the belts carry me along, and I'll module everything along the way. It, all right. Now, down here you can see I placed a couple of uh, blueprints worth of this defensive perimeter, and it seems to work pretty well. At least it will work once I get construction robots into the roboports. And I need to get rid of some nosy neighbors. This is like about the fifth time that biters have moved into this area. I'm just going to start calling this area Biter Glade, because they just seem to love it over here. And I really don't know why. It's so close to a bunch of everything. It's noisy, it's polluted. It doesn't seem like prime real estate, if you ask me. But then again, I'm not a biter, so maybe they thrive on that sort of thing. And I guess they kind of do, since that's what causes them to mutate and become bigger, stronger, and more menacing. Maybe they like that, I don't know. But I'm just going to go ahead and put all these modules in there. That'll really, really help with cutting down on the amount of electricity we're wasting. One of these days I'm going to get around to repurposing this station, but now that I have the stone mine over in the far east portion of my immediate area, uh, stone is really just not in as big of a demand anymore, so it's not really something that needs to be dealt with in the near future. Now here I go. This should be about the last of the efficiency modules that I have. It's already a sizable change there. Of course, a lot of these mines just aren't running 100% of the time, so it's not really a big deal. I always forget that I have this little section over here, one of the very first stone mines that I ever built, and it still had all those wall segments in its inventory. Now I just upgraded all the blue circuit production assemblers to level 3. I'm going to, first of all, get some more laser turrets, and I've noticed that my battery supply up here, the topmost chemical plant, was not actually running. It's an issue that I had with that blueprint that I put down there, but it's working now, so it should be alright. Alright, I'm going to head back out down here to my defensive perimeter, and I came up with an idea to improve it. First of all, I'm going to make sure all of these are finally filled in, just so that it stops warning me about all the stuff it's trying to build. The way it is right now, I have one roboport servicing a length of wall that is 100 tiles wide, and I have them apart so that they are not sharing the logistics network, so that each one has its own dedicated force of robots. But I thought to myself, the railroad connection here would be really close together, and it may cause the trains to get a little confused as to where they're supposed to go. So I came up with an idea of creating a segment that has 3 roboports in length, all in their own unique logistics network. So it would be the same number of robots split across 3 roboports. That way it gives me a length of wall that is twice the size of what it was earlier. So it's 200 tiles long. And it just needs some slightly tweaked values for what the chests will require. And ultimately it all kind of ends up being the same number of turrets along each one, because instead of 31 in a 100 tile wide length, now it'll use a total of 65 in a 200 tile length, which is almost double the amount. In fact, it's slightly over, I believe. Anyway, I really need to make some room in my inventory. I need to plop down a bunch of stuff that I just don't use anymore. Anyway, this design will allow me to have also these little segments where the railroad has the ability to cross out of the wall and out into the wilderness. It allows me to put them a little bit farther apart so that they're not all bunched together in a similar reasons to what I had before. Now, once again, I'm trying to get all these put down before the biters come along and make a mess of it before it's ready. You'll remember in the last episode I had a few issues with over-eager neighbors coming along to test out my wall. But that shouldn't be a problem this time, because instead of just laying out a whole bunch of stuff and then leaving it unprotected, I'm just going to put some ammunition in here now and watch as it fills the whole place up. It did that still rather quickly, and that's just a one-time setup issue. Hopefully that only ever needs to happen the first time I create this section of the defensive perimeter. Alright, that went pretty smooth. And just imagine having construction bots with the repair packs out there that it wouldn't even require me to be there. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, okay. And then I just put down the other ones on the other side here. I want to make sure that I have a gate for these to cross over. There we go. And now they all just need power in order to get the ammunition fed down the line. Yeah, it only needs to do that the first time, and then during its lifetime, anytime any of these turrets would run low on ammunition, it should be much simpler to resupply them. It wouldn't even really need to disrupt the defensive properties of any other turret, ideally, until, of course, it runs out of its supply and needs to request the train to come in and give it some more ammunition, which hopefully that wouldn't even take very long. I'm planning on setting this all up with a circuit network that will read the contents and determine when the ideal time would be to send a train along to resupply the whole area, which you'll see me doing here in just a moment. The first thing I want to do, though, is get all of these the blueprint basic basis to be set up properly. You can see my power is still shifting every now and then, but it's doing it closer to the end of the night, so hopefully these issues will be able to be resolved in the near future. Once I can start getting the defensive perimeter actually in place and cleaning out all the biter infestations within my immediate square, as I'm been calling it, I can set up a whole lot more solar panel and accumulator fields, similar to the square that I've got over to the what is that? The northwest of where I am now. You can see it up there in the radar if you look past the giant red blob of pollution. All right, and this is going to be the train station for each node of the defensive perimeter. I want it to have a rail network very similar to what I'm using in the rest of the factory. And it's just a matter of setting up all the chain signals everywhere that they are needed. Alright. Chain signals going in, rail signals coming out of every intersection, and that should do it. Alright. Now, in order to prevent trains from pulling into a station when that particular station does not need a resupply, I'm going to be setting up the entrance signal to the circuit network to close the signal whenever it just doesn't need anything. And all right, getting all the long range power poles put up where they are needed, and they're going to have to connect to each other, so obviously they need to have some stuff on the end there. Alright, getting that one over there next to the rail signal so that it can support circuit lines. Placing up a constant combinator up here along the main line. It's not actually going to be part of the blueprint, it's just going to represent a signal that is fed into this area from the loading area. It's going to be carried along on the green line. Right here you see I'm actually putting up the red line, but that's just because I want to have these areas with as much of the circuit network available to them as I decide to give it. That way I don't have to go running around every time I've set up one of these defensive perimeter blueprints and having to do it manually. Now, yeah, the green line is going to be feeding in an ideal value from the loading station. That way I only have to mess around with one constant combinator instead of going to each individual section to change any values I want to change. That value is going to then be compared against the value of actual items in the storage chest just below this roboport. And whatever the difference is will represent what it needs. And when it needs a certain amount, it is going to send the signal on the N for need back to the loading station, and then it will send a train along. And of course, ideally, when the N signal is 1, this entrance rail signal will be the only one in the entire defensive perimeter network that will have a green signal, so the train has no choice but to come here. Everywhere else it's going to be red by default. And I am trying to set this up with an SR latch so that when the signal after it turns red, indicating that a train has arrived, it will reset the latch, and then the signal will remain closed once again because it no longer needs a resupply because the train is now here. But I have once again forgotten how to create an SR latch, so I'm fiddling around with the values that I thought it needed, and of course I get things wrong and end up pulling up power poles. So now I'm just going to be feeding in signals from over here. I realize in hindsight what I did wrong in all of this. Yeah, the idea is that the latch would be set when n equals 1, representing, of course, when this station needs a resupply, and then it will be reset when the signal just below me here turns red, indicating, of course, that the resupply train has showed up. But I just could not get that to work. There I'm placing a test train to try to reset the signal. Ideally, at this moment, that signal off to my right should be red, but it wasn't. And then I accidentally pull up a power pole that was holding all of my signals. So I have to do some rewiring here. It was kind of a pain in the butt. Anyway, and now, of course, it is the testing situation that I have set up with the ammunition in the chest is less than the ideal value, so it's opening the signal to allow for the resupply train to show up. But I cannot, for the life of me, get the latch to close. And then, of course, I realized that when there's a train in this block, the signal is closed no matter what it's being told to do. It overrides the circuit network completely, which may in fact just be what I need to have. It doesn't need to read the signal after it because it itself will turn red once the train shows up. So perhaps the SR latch just is not necessary after all. Of course, in hindsight, let me go ahead and just finish that thought. That the reason it's not working is because of the values that I set in the latch itself. In there I am setting the Z signal, or Z signal for those of us who are not American, to be the condition is that if the Z signal is greater than 0, and I believe in order for it to work, it needs to check if it's equal to 0. But right here, I just decided to get rid of the SR latch entirely because this is working just fine for my needs. And just making sure that all of that is set up correctly. And then, of course, I put a train in the station. The signal turns red. So if I have any other supply trains coming along to feed a different section of the defensive perimeter, it's not going to pull into this station because this station will already either have its train there or it just doesn't need it in the first place. So that seems to work for right now for everything that I need. I'm just going to go ahead and finish the physical blueprint for the station. I always love it when a solution turns out to be a little bit simpler than I had anticipated. So right now I need to get more rail segments in my inventory. I'm going to head back up here. I'm going to let my robots resupply me. And it's also time to start expanding the logistics network within the main factory. I'm not getting that done quite yet. It'll probably be done in the next episode where it will start building my construction robots and logistics robots and all that stuff. Essentially, everything that I need for this defensive perimeter is not quite yet being mass produced in the factory. So it is not yet ready for deployment out in the field, but it is getting so close that I can almost taste it. It is time. It has been a long time coming for this thing to be made available in the factory, both on my end and on your end, because you've been listening to me whine about it for so long. A couple of those long-range power poles were in the slightly wrong position, so I had to rewire them. But anyway, it looks like this is potentially where it needs to be. So I'm going to take my original plan here and erase it and create a new blueprint of this entire thing. And that will officially be Defensive Perimeter 3.1 due to the fact that it was slightly modified. And I want to make sure that all of the icons there are showing it properly so I can find it in my list. And it does take a heck of a lot of resources to make. So, like I said, I need to get my factory now mass producing all of these things. And I'm wondering if I should have it also connected to the filter inserter so that it will actually only move as much as it needs. I've got some other ideas involved in that, so I might have to revisit that. This is why I didn't rebuild the blueprint right there to include that additional wiring. Anyway, with a little bit of time left in today's episode, I'm going to go around and put in some more efficiency modules, and up here in my oil fields, upgrade all of the speed modules to level 3. Hopefully that will help out just a little bit, because once again I am experiencing an oil shortage. Because this area over here just pumped all of this oil out so ridiculously quickly, and my it was primarily the plastics production that just gobbled it all right up. So I'm once again going to have to go out and find another oil field or 2 or 3 to get additional stuff in. I'm going to put down another beacon over here. I only have one in my inventory, so I'm going to try to put it where it will do the most good. It seems to be doing an alright job. That almost got hit by the oil train, but in my current armor level, it probably wouldn't have even killed me. Anyway, I do have a few other options for a new oil field. There's one out on the east coast near my stone mine. I think I pointed that out back in the episode in which I ventured out there in the first place. Because yeah, this oil level is just down really far and not really helping. I'm gonna change the value in my my heavy oil cracking plant to get a little more light oil into the system. And I also noticed in another recent exploratory excursion that there is another massive oil field out to the west along the western perimeter of the giant square. that is it has like something like 21 or 22 oil deposits over there. So, but of course, it is also heavily guarded by biters at the moment. So it's something I'm going to have to have a tactical approach to. But it will also give me an excellent opportunity to begin placing down the defensive perimeter eventually. Uh, but just for right now, I'm just making sure that all of my mining drills over here have the level 1 efficiency modules in them to get an 80% efficiency rating. It actually gives a 90% efficiency rating, but because a machine can only ever take advantage of up to an 80%, it caps it off right there. And the reason I don't use 2 level 2 efficiency modules instead of 3 level 1s to get an actual level of 80% in there is because level 1s are just so much cheaper to build. So that's the reasoning there. And these have 3 module slots in them. So putting 2 level 2 modules would be a little bit more work. As you can see right there, I've successfully lowered the electrical demands. So we're going to call it the end of the episode. I want to thank you very much for tuning in today. My name is Azrael. Never stop building.